Man in the window.
So I'm really freaked out right now. A little background. I'm in my late 30s and I live in a home with my brother, who works in personal security, and my fiance. I always feel really safe because my brother is home at nights and he is armed to the teeth, and we have a pit bull who is very protective of us. So my brother recently took a temporary high clearance security job in Arizona, so he's being put up in a hotel out there. Before he left, he showed my fiance Rob and I how to operate one of his guns, just in case. We live in one of the safest towns in America. Nothing bad hardly happens. It's like Mayberry. But with all this recent clown BS and the increase of drugs, it's better to be safe than sorry. So this begins 2 nights ago. My fiance goes to bed early because he has to be up by 5 o'clock most mornings for work. So we are in bed, me, him, and the dog. I have my headphones on and I'm watching something on my tablet. Just an FYI, I snore bad. So my poor fiance wears earplugs. Around 11:30, my dog jolts up out of a sound sleep and starts growling. She goes over to the window in our bedroom and starts growling louder. So I get up to check. I look outside and there's a man staring at me. He's skinny and old, grizzled gray hair, unkempt beard, and vacant eyes. He looks at me and smiles, and I about lost it. Now my dog is straight up foaming at the mouth and barking. This finally wakes up my fiance and he comes over to see what is going on. The man sees I'm not alone and takes off. We called the cops and they show up and they start looking around. And they find the guy's backpack. He has a notebook with my name, my address, and a diagram of my freaking house. They find beef jerky, sleeping pills, I guess for my dog, scissors, twine, electrical tape, condoms, and a rusted knife. They told me that they will be on the lookout for him, but I'm really freaked out. So, old man, let's never meet again. Update. They caught him. Not before he tried it again, though. Today I was home alone. Fiance was working. My dog was in my room and I had all the doors locked, including the bedroom door. I drifted off for a nap when I hear someone banging on the window, and dogs going crazy. I don't hesitate. I call 911, and the officer comes right over. Operator tells me the officer caught him running out of my gate, so I hang on the phone with her. They catch him and I guess put him in the car. Turns out the dude was someone who I worked with years ago. He had been in my house 10 years prior during a work barbecue I hosted. He swore to the officers he didn't mean any harm, but I beg to differ. But this explains how he knew the outline of my home. Almost 10 years ago, I had another dog. She was a mixed lab and not the world's greatest guard dog. I'm guessing maybe he thought I still had her. She passed away 5 years ago. Anyway, he's in jail, and supposedly he's got tons of warrants for breaking and entering and loitering, to name a few in Oregon. so cops said he'll probably be heading back there.
Stalked for nearly a year when I was a little girl.
This took place when I think I was around 7 or 8, so my brother must have been about 12 or 13 when this happened. Since my brother was now considered a teenager, my dad figured it'd be safe to stop asking my grandma to pick my brother and I up after school, because he couldn't since he was working. He was an extremely hardworking single father. Anyway, my brother and I start walking home alone after school, after getting off the bus. It was like a 2-minute walk back to our place from the bus stop. Shortly after, a middle-aged man with the creepiest fucking vibes started showing up across the street from our house and would just stare. Mainly, he wore this beat-up, extremely dirty and vibrant jumpsuit. Like, extremely vibrant. Only reason I saw him was because of that fucking jumpsuit. That looked like it belonged in the 80s. He wouldn't do anything. He'd just stare at our house from across the street. He'd usually appear 5 minutes after we got home, and then leave about 5 to 10 minutes before my dad got home. At first, I thought he was just a strange new neighbor. It wasn't uncommon in my area for creepy old men, pedophilic construction workers, and drunken college students to lurk around town. It was about all my dad could afford at the time. After a while, though, I got a bad feeling that he wasn't our neighbor. He grew somewhat ballsy. At this point, he had been openly observing us for about a half a year. It soon escalated from him just staring at us when we got home, to him physically waiting at my brother and I's bus stop. 1, I already hated going home after school. And 2, now this creep is practically unavoidable. I was a bundle of nerves, and so was my brother, when we got off the bus and saw the guy standing there, staring at us. I immediately grabbed my brother's hand and started fast walking home. I hated hearing his footsteps lurk behind us. I absolutely hated it. My scaredy-cat-o-meter was finally off the damn charts, that I was begging my brother to call the police. Instead, he grabbed the metal baseball bat that was next to the door and told me that if anyone, besides our dad, walked through that door, that he'd kill them. I was so mad at him for weeks after that, but looking back now, I kind of extremely admire my prepubescent brother, who would be willing to do anything to protect his little sister. That night, we finally told our dad about our daily evening visitor. He was furious, but also sad that his kids didn't tell him sooner. We felt like it was somehow our fault that this man was following us, so we figured that my brother and I would just get in trouble for the man's actions. A creepy man had been stalking his kids for nearly a year without his knowledge. He was devastated. I sympathize with him now. My dad talked to a woman who waited at the bus stop for her son and explained the situation to her. She had thought that the man was someone he had asked to watch us, since she noticed our grandma no longer picked us up. After my dad talked to the woman, my brother and I never saw our stalker again. Years later, I found out that the woman, while waiting for her son to get dropped off by the bus, noticed the creep in the same jumpsuit. She walked right up to his face and told him, "If you don't leave those poor kids alone, I won't even call the cops. I'll take matters into my own hands and beat the living hell out of you. I never want to see your face around here again." She was a tough, mean-looking lady, but a huge softie with the biggest heart ever. Anyway, she was mean enough looking that the guy never lurked outside our home or bus stop ever again. Not sure if this would serve as any significance to you guys, but my upstairs neighbors later claimed that they used to see him go dumpster diving down the street from our home. So, old dude with the creepiest stare I've ever seen, let's not meet again.